Okay,
Brilliant.
great.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Power BI Lunch and Learn. This is season 2, episode 2, and today we are live from Spain. So, as you'll know, I'm not Alex. Alex is unfortunately not with us today. He's off on other duties, as well as Ben. Ben is away on site working today as well. So, you with me, myself, Lewis, and our special guest that I will introduce in a moment. Let's get straight into it because we haven't got much time. We're on our lunches, and we want to get to the good stuff quickly. So, our special guest today, she's originally from Cuba. Okay, she's lived in Spain for over 20 years now. She's a data analyst. She's a computer science engineer. She's a data platform MVP. She's a LinkedIn learning specialist, a trainer on LinkedIn. And she talks at meetups and tech events around Europe as well. And she is really, really passionate about it, and I'm really excited to have her on here. So I'm going to introduce you to her now. Anna, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Anna, hi, how are you?
I'm fine, fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Good, good.
Happy to be
So
here.
first of all,
Yes.
we'd like to know what time it is in Spain at the moment.
In Spain and especially in Madrid, it's beautiful as always,
Yeah,
sunny,
brilliant.
clear. It's wonderful weather.
Very nice. And what time is it right now?
Yes, we have 1:30.
1:30. So
Yeah.
we are definitely live from Spain right now. Excellent. How is the sort of market in Spain for Power BI at the moment? In compared to the other big I guess Power BI or business intelligence tools that are out.
Well, in Spain, we are really happy. The people who works on Microsoft tools
Mhm.
are really happy because of Power BI. Because here we have, of course, a lot of people working on Tableau or Click
Yeah, yeah.
products family, but Power BI is such a really, really good tool,
Mm. Yeah.
and we have tons of people working on Excel. So
Okay.
they are Microsoft people. So
Yeah,
for
yeah.
us, it's really, really easy to implement Power BI, and we have a lot of work to do, a lot of training to do, a lot of projects. So we are great, and also because of Power Platform, of course.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. Well, a lot of our listeners are our viewers, they're Power BI developers. Some of them might be looking for opportunities. What do you think the market is like for Power BI jobs and things like that?
Market is also really good. It's I'm getting offers
Hmm.
day by day.
Wow,
Yes,
wow,
about Power BI, Power Platform, but especially on Power BI.
wow.
Data
Okay.
analysis is so important. It's so important nowadays.
Yeah.
And we need a lot of analysis to do, a lot of real great analytics reports to implement. So it's a good time
Good,
for us.
good time. Good, excellent. Yes. Well, I'm excited about your talk today. So if you'd like to share your screen,
Okay.
and then we can get straight into your talk, and I'll let you introduce that. But this is going to be sort of real life scenarios here that you're presenting with to us today, based on your experience and the type of thing that you do, I guess, day to day when it comes to Power BI. So yes, really looking forward to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now I need to. Are you sharing?
Yes, if you share, then you can take over mine. That's fine.
Okay. Because okay. Now it's better. Okay. Now it's okay. Oh,
Yep. Now we're there. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Great. So, buenos dias. Good morning from Madrid. I'm really happy for being here today, solving real world user data quality problems with Power Query and Power BI. This is a real scenario. I was preparing just a concentrated example because of the time. So I'm Ana Bisbe, MVP, and so on and so forth. I'm working with Power BI user group in Madrid, and I'm leader of Power Platform Madrid and nowadays Spain also. So, okay, we will see the starting point, and then we will see all the process for solving at ETL stage all the time, ETL with Power Query, all the problems we have. Cleansing, modeling, looking at the business requirements, and looking at data quality, our human mistakes. Okay, let's see. This is my first Excel, beautiful, amazing file. So it's not a big deal, just 100 rows, not too big. But as you can see, a lot of columns, too many columns, because we have calculated columns and columns from the last years and so on. It's an amazing. And then the second one, also an ugly file. Okay. This is the real view. And the third, it was really easy, just from zero, typing or pasting, just 10 rows, areas and employees. Not big deal. Okay, let's start looking at the problems. We had a problem because of the headers of the reports. So we have two kind of problems here because a lot of rows we need to rid of. So the solution is remove top rows with Power Query menu options, and that's all. Then we have empty rows. So it's important to see that using Power Query, we have the chance of look at the var. We are able to define it is green, totally green. It's okay, it's fine. But if we have this kind of gray, so that means we have empty rows. So remove empty or just filter. Okay. One more problem, two more zeros values. In this case, the user has put in 0 for each month without any information here. Okay, I didn't say this was information about the projects and also the incomes and the expenses related to this all of these projects. But the information was month by month. So if you were working on this project just on November and December, the rest of the year we were obtaining zeros and zeros and zeros and more zeros. And this is the problem here. We are using the profile to see the elements here. As you can see, 85% of are zeros. So we need to filter for improving data quality of this subset of data. So again, we have calculated columns here, total columns, last year columns, year over year, a lot of percentage, increase, decrease, so on. So we only need the columns itself, January, February, and so on. So choose right columns and rid of the rest. The rest of calculated columns, we don't need it. January, February, all the year, all the months here. Okay, data cleansing, one more. If we have a columns with all the values are the same, it's useless. It's a constant. We don't need this column, so read off. We don't need this kind of columns with all the values. Different delimiters. Oh my God. Why? Was the same person, the same project, the same customer. I was crazy when I saw this kind of. It's amazing. Why? Replace values. You need to replace. Yes, it's funny, but I was going crazy when I was. Wow. Because then you need to create a match between. Wow, crazy. Data modeling. This is a really, really important problem. And the most of my students at the beginning didn't see the problem here. The problem is January, February, March aren't attributes itself. The attributes here is month. Okay, so it's really important for Power BI and for our data modeling, our data tabular model to define properly entities and attributes. So month is the attribute, so we need to unpivot to find just the very first columns, profit and loss account, month and value. Okay. Okay, more. Okay, the other problem here. Look at this, one column, hosting. I show you just two different facts, but here we had more than 10 different facts. So all of them in just one columns. So, and we have more. As you can see here, we have income and incomes. Actually, in Spanish was the mistakes because I was translated some sample for you, but this was in Spanish, and in Spanish was in plural and singular and awful. So the solution I found here was by first, I was doing a lot of cleansing, the most as possible options for cleansing the data, and then I was dividing using query referencing and then filtering. So after the very first options for cleansing, I was dividing incomes and then expensive. As you can see here, we have incomes and then we have expensive. But the solution was prepare incomes, make all the steps, all the cleansing, all the implement all the logic, and after that, if we need to repeat the process again and again, like in my case, just duplicate, changing the filtering condition. That's all. Okay. So, and now we have incomes and expensive. Okay, business rules. Interesting. Here we have, this is just a column with a lot of information here. We have the account, the project number, the year, the area, and the text itself, project incomes, project expensive, and so on. So we need just to extract the numbers, these numbers, this one, okay? And by first, pay attention to the settings, because depending on the settings, depending on these settings from view, we will have this view here or this one. They are totally different. So please do not lose looking at the ground values. We need to show white spaces to see how many blank space we have. Okay, so it's important to see the difference, because it looks like, okay, it's clean, but it's not clean. We have several here spaces. Okay, so option A. Okay, we could trim columns, split, delete. I don't know how many spaces, how many steps we are able to see. Or we are working on Power BI. So we have a better option here. Just add columns from example. In this case, it's really, really easy. Just select the columns, add column from example. We are able to first select the column, then add column from example from the selection. Now we have the column and just type this value, the numbers at the center of the expression. That's all. We don't need to do anything. And probably, depending on the case, Power BI is able to find the pattern just with one number. And it depends. Probably we will need to type 2 or 3 cases. For this case, just one. He realized which was the values and was perfect. Power BI Power Query is the owner of this expression here, so it's not my typing, it's not my conclusion, but it's perfect. The solution was great. Okay, so one more. If we need to, depending on the situation, we can create a date column, and depending on the data we have, for example, if we just have the year, just the year, how in this case we have, this is 2017, 2018, we are able just to type this expression here, as you can see, this expression here, and then the value of year. We are creating a new column from example, indicating which column we need to see for the patterns. And Power BI is so clever. It's able to see the patterns and to say, okay, I want to combine the expression we have here, the same expression I've typed here, and then the number of year, and year is a number, so we need to convert to text. And this Power BI, it's not me. It's really, really easy. And we have another case, because in this case, I have month and year. If we have month and year, like in my case, we just need to combine 2 columns, okay? Merge 2 columns with a space, for example. This is the result. We can see here the result, okay? And the only one we need to do is just to change the type of the column. That's all. Because if we have the the short name for the month and the year, Power BI, it's so good, so clever. He will understand that this is for the data, for the data type. It's clear. Okay, in this case, we had a special calculation, just one case, multiply by -1, no big deal. Okay, and you know, in this case, we realized that people did a mistakes. For example, changing the numbers 2 for instead of 3 or 3 instead of 2. He's a human being mistakes. Okay, so the solution I prepared for my customer here was to combine, but not for reporting and for looking at the mistake, the mistakes. Okay, for in this case, I was looking at projects and incomes, because the problem was I have projects, I have incomes and expenses, and I realized that I'm realized that in my data were projects without any incomes, without any expenses, and expenses without any project. So, and it's because of the human being typing and so on, Excel. And if we combine, doing merge, okay, combine two queries, and we use here the clue is this one, right? Anti. That means I will see the rows that we have just in the second table, in the second query. So that means that here we have a perfect solution because we have no errors. Okay, but as you can see, we have several rows, inexpensive, and we have no matching rows in projects. So we have expenses not related with a specific project. This is a mistake. You know, that's the problem. And as you can see, the incomes is okay, expenses are bad, and these are the projects, the numbers of projects and the values for those projects. So it's important to know. Okay, let's see the sample. Where is my sample? Where is? Okay. This is the projects. As you can see, I have projects here. These are all the transformation I was explaining to you. Promote header, filtering rows, filtering spaces, filtering zeros, okay. Removing duplicates, also removing duplicates. In this case, for example, I forgot, we have a simple conditional column depending on the contents of the columns. We had emergency projects or not, but not big deal. And remove columns all the time, remove as much as possible for the column. And then we need to maintain this code, but from this code, we have the information about the year, about the area, and about the project itself. So we need to maintain this column and to copy, to duplicate the column, and then split, and then change and rename and insert, merge columns for month and year. Rename, change type, and remove other columns, and that's all. It's clean for me. That's about projects. And about profits and loss, I want to show you that I was telling you that navigation, as you can see, these are in English, project incomes, and project expenses, that in the real life, we had tons of problems, tons of cases here. As you can see, tons and tons and tons and tons of cases here. So I was showing just two cases, expensive and incomes. But if we have so different facts in just one column, we need to divide and divide because we need to obtain the tables here. Okay, so and I was telling, by first I was doing the first cleansing, removing rows, promoting header, filtering as much as possible, and then was the time for creating the two tables here, two queries here, incomes and expensive. Okay, so this is my data quality queries. As you can see, incomes it's okay, expensive is not okay. Okay, we have problems here because of these projects, and I think that's so. So it's not just about the number of rows. As you could see, I had a few rows, but it's about the data quality. Tabular modeling, it's so important to see at the model, and it's important to look at the customer business rules because we need to solve all the problems in the looking for the solution to our customer. So happy querying, happy cleansing data. Thank you. If you have questions.
Thank you very much, Anna. Wow. I'm blown away by that. That was such an amazing presentation. Thank you so much. So yes, people, if you would like to get in touch and connect with Anna, her details are on the screen there. I'm sure you'll agree with me that that was a great overview and a great presentation on data cleansing and the different things that we can do with the tools that we have within Power BI. And you're right, a lot of these tools and a lot of these options that are in the Power Query, you know, people don't see, you know, they're hidden away. People sometimes don't understand what each of these options do. And it's worth having a look and testing some of these things out because the things like the white space is really important, you know, that could really help clean up your data. And it's things that you just don't think that you would need. But as you can see, real life, people do make mistakes. You know, bad data does get into our files and our systems, and Power BI has put the tools there for us to be able to solve that. So yes, if you have any questions, send them through. Anna's going to stay on the call for the rest of the session. So she'll be here and she'll be able to take any of your questions whilst the second presentation is going on. Thank you very much, Anna, for that.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so just as I swap over to Lewis. Lewis, if you'd like to share your screen, then we can get on with Lewis. So Lewis, today we'll be creating some dynamic dashboard. He's doing some dynamic dashboard design. So I'll be using DAX and using some bookmarks and just to show how you can create some nice effects when you have you know, requirements from your superiors or in place. You know, how can you sort of create a dashboard that suits everybody, that gives everybody the information that they want without creating too many pages and too many reports. So we're going to go through and have a look at that. Okay, so Lewis, I'll just put your desktop here. We can see your nice green desktop.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, I'll crack on. So For those of you who haven't been on one of these talks before, my name is Holmes. I'm a business intelligence consultant. Been working predominantly with the Microsoft stack for about 10 years. That's all elements of it, and more recently Power BI. Today I'm going to talk you through 20-ish minutes of a demonstration of how to create a dynamic dashboard. So the place we're going to end up is something like this, where fairly standard, one metric by date, but with some really cool functionality that allows you to switch between showing orders on the main chart to showing average transactions, revenue, number of products, and that's all dynamic. So yes, let's crack on with it. So the starting point is this Power BI file. For those of you who watched the episodes last season, in episode 5 I did quite a bit of work creating this data model, getting some nice measures in place around average transactions, orders, products and revenue. If you want to get a hold of this file or watch that episode, it was episode 5 and it's available on powerbisupport.co.uk. But yes, so without further ado, we'll start transforming what we have here, just a standard table, into that dashboard that you saw before. So the starting point for this is if I'll just clear that away, and I'll add a graph, my main graph that sits in the middle of the table. And for the time being, we'll put in revenue, and we're going to bring in the dates. And as always, Power BI tries to be helpful and does a hierarchy, but you can turn that off by switching back to the actual field name. And I think we'll just call it dates. So far, so good. And then we're going to create a series of cards on the left that shows the values for each of these measures. Oh, I'll do that. Create a card. So I guess I want it about this big, something like that, in line with the top. And in there we're going to put orders. So as I go down, I'm going to apply formatting to these measures just to make it a bit more readable. So orders is a whole number. So if we click on orders, and then we can go into formatting there and say, well, it already has a whole number, but I would like the comma to appear. So you can just press on that, and then it's added the comma. And under the formatting options, we're going to add in a shadow, and we're going to make the swan green. Shall we do? Sort of, something like that. Okay. So I'm going to create a copy of that so I know it's the same size, and then line it up like this. And in this one, we'll put products, and again, format it. It doesn't really matter for products because there's only 50 on the store. But I'm going to change this color to be some kind of red. Orders, products. Now we're going to put in revenue into this one. And I'd like the pound symbols to be on there. So again, you can click on revenue. If you just click on the currency, you get American dollars, which isn't what we want in Britain. So if on the drop down, you can have it do pounds. Yep. And then I think I want these a bit smaller. So I'm just going to rejig this because I'm going to run out of space. And you can see now that doesn't fit on, so I'm just going to decrease the size of that a bit, maybe to 30. There we go. I didn't change the colour on the shadow for this one. So we got red, we got green, let's have blue. And then finally, we're going to bring in the average transaction value. And again, we're going to make that in pounds. So the formatting options are under the measure tools. Nice. And change this colour to, we'll do yellow, something like that. I'll do it a bit of a darker one so we can see it. That's more orange, but anyway, we'll go with that. So you can see we've got different colours for our metrics, and it's going to be important when we get to do some of the dynamic aspects of this later. And then we will just add another matrix in so we can show all these measures. So we'll do orders, products, revenue, transactions, and we're going to do that by month. So because it's automatically done the nice hierarchy, we can just get rid of these other elements, and it's done it by month. By default, it will put the values as kind of nested within the columns. To change that behavior, you can go on the format and then go to values and then say show on rows. So if you're showing more than one measure, then this is important. So then it will have rows like that, which is obviously much nicer. If you could go to try and do a summary. I just realised I don't have any data for June, so I don't think I've refreshed this. So let's just hit refresh. There we go. So we have some more data now. What else do we need? We'll do a title. I always forget where it is. There we go. We're going to call it something nice, exciting business. Do that something like this, and we'll stick this at the top. Okay. So that's the bones of it, but it does, at the moment it does not have any functionality. The first thing we can do obviously is add a slicer. For those of you who saw the last episode, you'll know that this data is split by web and app sort of sales. So we'll bring in the channel, we can put that up here. And now you can choose whether you're interested in just the web or the app channel, obviously, and I think to make it a bit easier for people, under the selection controls, you can have a select all option, just in case they get mixed up. Especially if you're doing lots of cross filtering, it can be a bit weird. So there we go. Okay, so I want to add some functionality into the middle of this chart so we can change the measure that's shown. At the moment, I've just put revenue in there, but we would like it to be orders or products, and we'd like the user to be able to change that. So the way I accomplish this is by adding another table with the measure names in there. So if I go, and if I expand this, you can see the option. It's enter data. So this is the one where you type in your own values. So we're going to call it KPIs. And we are just going to give the 4 measure names. Orders, products, revenue, ATV. And I'm going to add a column to sort on. It will help in the displaying of this later. So if I load this data in, we can then add that KPI column as a slicer, and don't want that at all. Add it onto the slicer, and it shouldn't affect anything else in the model, and it doesn't. And as you can see here, it's sitting on its own, it's not related to anything else, so it's not going to have an impact on the model. That's what we expect. But what we can do now is write a measure that does interrogate this slicer and tells us the values that are selected. So I'm just going to put this down here out of the way for the moment. And I'm going to create a new measure. And this measure is going to interrogate that slicer and return the measure that's selected in there. So I'm going to call it actual. Let's do that. And then on the next row, I'm going to do an if statement. So the first step is to check if something has been selected. So there's a built-in function in DAX called has1value. And we can ask it, has the KPI table, the KPI value of KPI, so this, has that only got one value? And that will be true if one of these are selected. Great. So if it does have one value, what are we going to do? So we can use the switch statement to switch statement. So even though we know only one value is selected, we can't reference that KPI thing directly. We need to put it in an aggregate expression. So we can be min or max or whatever, it doesn't really matter because there's only one value, isn't there? So we're going to ask it, okay, we're going to consider the value that's selected, and if the value is ATV, then we're going to return the ATV measure itself. If the value is orders, then we're going to return orders. If it's products, then we'll return the products measure. And finally, you can see where this is going. If it's revenue, we'll return the revenue column. And we'll just close off the switch statement, close off the if. And there we have it. So essentially, we're just asking it what is selected in here, and depending what's selected, we're returning a different measure. So now we can put this actual in the chart, and it will respond to what's selected. So you can see as we're choosing different options here, the numbers are changing on there. Okay, so that's good, but it can perhaps be a bit confusing for people. So I'm going to add a chart title above here that very clearly explains what's being shown. So I'll take this as a starting point, what we already created, and I'll do a new measure called chart title. But instead of just returning a measure, I'm just going to return a text which we're going to put on the title. So this is going to say average transaction value by date. Here, we'll have it say orders. This is products. This is revenue. So now we have a measure which interrogates this and creates us a nice chart title. So I can include that on the dashboard as well by creating a card, sticking in chart title, and you can see it's already done that. We can change the format of this measure, sorry, format of the card, so this category doesn't appear, the category is the measure name. And now it's just a case of lining this up nicely. And obviously we don't need it that big, so let's shrink it down a bit. Excellent. So now we have a chart title that moves with the chart. So because we have this dynamic title now, we don't need this one, do we, on here? So we can turn that one off. And this actual column here is probably not very useful, so we'll, on the y-axis, we'll turn off that title. And as well, I think on the x-axis it says sales date, perhaps just say date, just to tidy that up. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to create another measure which will allow us to colour this chart in the same colour that these boxes are coloured in. So you can see we've got green for orders and red for products and everything else. I'm going to create another measure that will give us the colour. So I'm going to take the actual one again as a template, create a new measure, and we can call it chart colour. So ATV, what colour do we want that to appear? Well, we made that yellow. So in here you can put in the hexadecimal colour codes, or if you're just using pretty standard colours, you can just tap it straight in. Orders are green, products are red, and revenue is blue. It's that easy. So now we have that measure. One of the new features, I think it was in the June release, if you go into your formatting options and shadow, you can tell it we do want a shadow, and it's created one, but then you can tell it to get the colour from a measure. So you can do that by clicking on this FX button here against the colour, and we just want to say field value. And under the metrics we've got chart colour. So if you OK that, now it should mirror what we have. So now we're showing products by date, it goes red. Orders by date, it goes green. The transaction value goes yellow, and the revenue should go blue. That's pretty good. And At this point, you could, if you could leave it like this and be happy, and you could just leave this KPI slicer on the report. If the user does get into a state where there's more than one selected, then it just breaks, it doesn't return anything. Or if there's nothing. A simple way around that would be to go into the selection controls and then say single select is on, and then that just enforces them to pick one. They can't do multiple selections, and they can't do a zero selection, they can't turn it off. And then you can leave that on the dashboard, and that works pretty well. And it will allow people to, it allows you to create one page with all the objects, but then have quite a lot of depth to it. If people want to interrogate it by different metrics, they can just click on the metric and it all and the chart changes. However, I'm going to go to one final step, and I'm going to make it so they can click on these cards to change it to reflect what it is. And to do that, we need to create some bookmarks. So if I go into the view pane, I can say I want selection and I want bookmarks. So everything's got really small now, but that's okay, we can work with it. So if you go and start doing bookmarks and layering things, it's quite important to have your objects names kind of correctly. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to call this orders card. This one is products. This one is revenue. This one is ATV. So now we need to create some bookmarks. Okay. So I'm going to save a bookmark where, with it having ATV highlighted, you can probably just about see that. So yeah, with ATV highlighted, I'm going to create a bookmark. And when you create a bookmark, you have the option of a few things on here. So we're going to have it impact only the selected visuals. This will mean that these other slices won't be impacted. So you can slice this slicer or any of the other ones, and when you use this bookmark, it will leave those alone. And at the same time, I'm just going to turn off the page and the display of things. So it will just impact the data that's selected within this measure. And we can rename this and call this ATV. So now I need to create 3 more. So I'll select orders, add a bookmark. Again, we just want the selected visual, and we just want it to impact on the data within that visual. Products. Finally, revenue. So now we could actually just hide this slicer so it's not shown. So if we, and I'll rename it so it doesn't get lost. So if we turn off the visibility of that slicer, so it's still on the page, but it's just not visible, you can click on these bookmarks to have the same effect. So the final step is to make these clickable. And the way I do that is by inserting a button. So if you go to the buttons, there's an option for a blank button. And I'm going to layer that on top of the orders control here. So obviously it's obscuring it at the moment, but we will turn off the background so it's transparent and turn off the outline. I need my selection pane again. So the selection pane, if you don't know, from top to bottom is the layering of all the objects. So because this is orders, I'll put this directly above orders. I just need to copy and paste it to create one for each of the others. Okay, so now we don't need the selection pane anymore, and then now we have everything layered as we need. So we just need to assign the actions onto these buttons. So we'll click on the top one, we say yes, we do want an action, we want that to be a bookmark, and we're going to go to orders. And I'll just do the same process for the other ones. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'll hide everything and you can see the functionality. So on the slicer up here, we can say we're just interested in app, and then we can control click on these. Obviously we're on the desktop, so you have to control click. On the service, it'll just be a straight click. And that allows you to switch between the measures and what is shown on the chart. That's pretty much the end of my talk here. Do we have anything on the Q&A, Shep?
Hi, Lewis. Thanks for that. We're handling the Q&A. It's all good. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, what a presentation again from Lewis. That was some really interesting techniques we can use there. And I think what happens generally in industry is you will deliver a report that will have your revenue just on there. Then you'll get someone from sales and you'll get someone from another department and say, oh, well, I'd rather see this by quantity, I'd rather see this by profits, I'd rather see this by ATV. And then you've got the challenge of getting all that onto one page and solving that business issue. And here with a nice, neat, cool trick that we can do here that, well, we can do in 20 minutes, Lewis has just shown, we can put something together quickly that satisfies all those requirements from the business. So thanks very much for that, Lewis. If there's any questions, you can take those in the Q&A.
Sure.
So that's coming to the end of our sessions. So before we go, I'd just like to share with you next week's session. So we have been traveling around Europe, traveling around the world even. And this week we had Anna, but next week we are flying all the way to Australia. Now you guys might recognize this guy, Mr. Warren Dean. He's the expert of maps. He is the owner of Datatail. You might have seen him online. He does some really cool stuff, and again, very excited about having Warren with us next week, and he'll be live. I think it's going to be midnight over there, and he's going to be live with us on the show. He's been following us as well, and he's really excited to do a talk for us next week. So make sure you're there, make sure you share the event, let your colleagues know, make sure you're here joining us, because he's going to really blow us away with some cool maps. But that's it from us today. Thank you for joining us again. Thank you very much to Ana Maria. Absolutely fantastic presentation. Anna, if you'd like to just say bye. Oh, sorry, I think I muted you by accident.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Lewis, thanks for your presentation. Excellent, as always.
Thank you, everyone. No problem.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully Alex and Ben will be back with us next week. If not, I'll be here, Warren will be here, Lewis will be here, and we'll have another fantastic session for you. Right. Have a great week.
Fantastic. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.